Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, the only Idaho podcast focused on providing profits for Idaho people. If you love our state and love small business, you are in the right place. We interview local legends, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You're listening to the Idaho Business Podcast with your friend, host, and all-around great guy and owner of New Clean Commercial Cleaning, Spencer Ward.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Idaho Business Podcast. We are here with Jonny Fisher. Before we get into the introductions of him, this guy has got some awesome stuff to talk about, and he has accomplished a lot. We're going to need to mention our sponsor. Our sponsor is New Clean Commercial Cleaning. These guys are your toilet scrubbing professionals. And if you go and mention that you heard about them on the podcast, they will give you a free carpet cleaning up to 5,000 square feet. No questions asked. All you have to say is you heard about them on the podcast, and call them at 208-254-7070 and set up your free offer right now. So there you go. Jonny Fisher, everyone. This guy is the COO of Pinnacle Health Services, the co-owner of Heritage Health Services, and obviously he's the founder of Mountain Medical Equipment. He's the director of business development of Udo. He's a company owner of Black Lion Financial. The list goes on and on for Jonny. I could go on and on for this guy. He has accomplished a lot. Born and raised in Pocatello, graduate of Idaho State University. And one thing I will mention, there's a park here in Pocatello called Brooklyn's Playground, named after his daughter, that he was instrumental in planning and putting this thing together. It's a playground for kids with disabilities to go and play together with their peers. And he recruited up to, what was it, thousands of volunteers, and raised over $600,000 in just under a year, and built this 15,000 square foot playground in 7 days. So this is who we get to have on the podcast today, guys. I'm super excited to have him on here. Jonny Fisher, everyone. Jonny, I hope I didn't get anything wrong, but welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I probably gave you too much credit for a lot of that stuff, but I'll take it. Brooklyn's Playground was just such an awesome endeavor, and I was, the driver of that, the face of it. But really, it's a testament to how, when you work together with people, what you can accomplish. Because when we started that project, I was 29 years old. I was scared out of my mind. I got intimidated by the fact we're going to have to raise that much money. My wife wouldn't let me quit. I had the motivation of my daughter. But really, it was the rallying of the community that helped us even get that project, put together. 3,000 volunteers, so many people gave countless hours to that. And it's just a testament that when we come together as a community, or as a people, or as a business, the things we can accomplish together are so much greater than what we can accomplish on our own.
I love it. That unity, and that we can talk about that forever. As the state of our country, and as state of our companies, having that unity can really move mountains. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, Jonny, you've been in so many different industries. Obviously, you've also been in, I didn't mention, but you also been in the real estate game as well before some of this healthcare endeavors that you're in. But how have you found yourself currently in the healthcare game?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I started out, my parents were both entrepreneurs. They were realtors, owned a construction company. My uncle owned that with them. They built the Black Swan Inn here in Pocatello, Destinations Inn in Idaho Falls. And so I grew up kind of in that environment, and they were a great example to me of entrepreneurship and how to do it the right way. And what success really looks like, from being able to look at yourself in the mirror type of a thing. And so I always had that desire to do things like that. I got started out early on while I was on a church mission. My brothers started a textbook store here in Pocatello called Textbook Exchange. When I came home, I came right into ownership with them. We ran that for 17 years. I got my real estate license right when I got back in 2003. I did that for 17 years with construction, and we were successful. But what I realized from that is that I was spreading myself too thin. And you look at all these businesses that I'm in now, and you may think he's spreading himself too thin now. But back then, I didn't have trust in people. I didn't realize that people are your greatest asset. So I micromanaged. I tried to do everything myself. And when I was spreading myself too thin, I wasn't great at anything. And so when I realized the bookstores were starting to switch to digital, I saw the writing on the wall. It was a great wave that we rode, but I saw that wave is going to be crashing here soon. And so I jumped out in 2018, had a really close friend, Danny Frazier, that had founded Heritage Home Health and Hospice here in Pocatello. And I approached him and I said, Danny, I think I'm going to be done with the bookstores and I'm looking for something. And he's like, well, I thought you would just, naturally go into real estate and construction. You got like a pipeline built there with your parents. And I didn't want to do it. I enjoyed doing it on the side. I didn't think I would enjoy doing it full time. And so I pivoted and I bought into Heritage in 2018. I wound down all my other businesses. And since 2019, I've been doing that full time and I've been loving it. But it was definitely a complete 180. I went from industries that I had been, I knew everything about, real estate, construction, and textbooks, and I'd done it for so long that I was the expert in that. And I went to, ground zero where I had to put in the effort again and put in the extra time to learn. But it's been awesome. I love the healthcare industry.
I love it, man. And they, the proof is in the pudding, and that truly successful people, they do jump right in, just like the people that want to be successful and they want to to do something eventually. They're on the sideline, studying things, weighing things out, and they never cast their line into the water. They're still out there 20 years later. I don't know. But there is, entrepreneurs have a risk, capability for risk that the average bear does not. And it's, I totally agree that when you get in there and you throw yourself at it, obviously you didn't just go in blind, but you get yourself into those situations like that. It pushes you. It's fun, number one, and it's fun to learn. And it just pushes you to, okay, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to be successful at this, and I'm going to be the man at this. And I like that mentality, and I like hearing people's stories. So thank you, Jonny.
Yeah, and just to speak a little bit to that, I was smiling as you were saying that, because a common connection that we have that you probably don't know about. So I think we have seen each other from a distance. We respect each other, but we've probably only spoken a few words to each other ever at the gym. And it's way too early to even speak for me. I'm lucky to even be awake. But one thing you probably don't know is about a year and a half ago, you posted something that changed me. And it was, you had shared, I think it was on Facebook, but you'd shared a podcast that I'd never heard about before, the Ed Milet podcast.
Love it.
So it was a Grover on winning.
Yep.
Listen to that podcast, and I'm like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. And so every time you see me at the gym, I'm probably listening to Ed Milet. I've been eating his stuff up, and so I pick up. And I'm sure you read a lot of books, and you probably have a mound of information that you're gathering this from. But when you talk, I'm like, oh, that's Ed Milet right there. Ed Milet talks about action, right? He talks about how so many people just get paralyzed by analysis, and they sit there and they want to just think through things and have everything perfect. And that was me. Like, one of my strengths, but also one of my greatest weaknesses, is that I'm a perfectionist. And so I used to think, man, I can't do something until I absolutely know everything about it. Yeah. But the truth is, you learn from action.
Yeah.
Action is the best teacher for us. There was not to get too wordy, but there was this story that I love that talks about a teacher, and I might, blow this up a little bit, but it talks about a teacher that she gave the pottery students 2 assignments. This group over here, their goal was to make the perfect vase or whatever it was, and this team over here, they were to make as many vases as they possibly could. And so both of them went to work, and this team over here, they just had to make one perfect one. And so they took their time analyzing it and looking at it and trying to, craft. They were drawing it out. And then they finally went to work at the very end and they built one vase. But this team over here, they were pumping them out. And their first 3, 4, 5, 50, whatever that they did, they were crappy. But as they would do it, they would learn. And they'd say, oh, okay, now we need to tweak it like this. Right. And by the end, they were producing perfect vases, way better than this other team over here. And so it just shows you that principle of action is learning.
That's amazing. I love that story. I'm going to steal it from you, by the way, too. So I'm just going to tell you now. I love that story. That teaches a lot right there. So, and you're probably going to hear me quote as this episode goes along as well today. So. Well, let's continue on here a little bit. You and I've discussed a few things at the gym, and you recently had an acquisition. Well, attempted an acquisition. Someone was trying to acquire one of your businesses. One of your many businesses that you're currently an owner in, and it didn't fully go through. Let's discuss that a little bit. Yeah. We talk a lot about the good stuff in the podcast, and we also talk about some not so good stuff, but I think this is something it's good to cover.
Yeah, no, this was really eye-opening for me, and I've got 2 partners in some of my businesses, and love them. So grateful for them, and sometimes people are ready to move on, and so with any business, at some point, there's an exit, and that's what we were looking at. Some of us didn't want to, some did, but ultimately we discussed and decided that we needed to move forward with that. We set out some criteria, and part of the criteria is that we wanted a company that was going to keep our same values and our same culture. Super important to us, and we found one that we thought was a good fit. Long story short, we get through the whole process. It was like a 6 to 8 month process. We got a week before closing. So when you're that close to closing, I mean, you've announced it to the company. You've already worked through all of the headaches. Employees are upset. They didn't see this coming. And you've already started, addressing all their concerns, started working through the transition of how does this look for your pay? How does this look for your job? And then a week before, out of nowhere, they called me. They pulled the plug. Gave some pretty, what I consider bogus excuses. I still have a great relationship with them. They do great things, and so I don't want to speak ill, but I didn't agree with their reasoning, and I think they missed out on an awesome opportunity. But for me, I was excited because we've built something amazing here. But what I learned through that whole process is we had multiple companies that they were trying to purchase, one of which afterwards kind of fell apart. And the other 2 continued stronger after the fact. And it was a testament to the culture. And some of that is on me, that the other company was kind of in a remote area where I'm not there day to day. And so the culture that we had built there was different than the culture we built here. And you manage things, but you lead people, right? And so our leadership style that we had built here happened way before this acquisition was even going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so the culture was of caring, was of love, and was of service, because caring and love are feelings, right? But the feelings come from the action. The action is the service. And so we teach this servant leadership mentality. And so when you serve somebody, you start caring, they start caring about you. It's a relationship. too often in business, we try to like separate things, but life is relational. It is so relational in everything, in my personal, my spiritual life, my business life. There's not a distinction between the two. I don't come home and be a different person. I don't go to work and be a different person. It's all about relationships. And so we had built these relationships prior to anything ever happening, prior to any acquisition or talk of an acquisition. And so because that relationship was there, the trust was there. And so when people found out this was going to happen, of course, they're concerned, right? They are thinking, am I still going to have a job? Am I still going to get paid the same? Right? And is the company still going to be what I love about this company? Is the culture still going to be the same? And we were able to alleviate those fears because they trusted us. They knew that we had their back. And throughout that whole process, they saw me go to bat for them. They saw me go and talk to the people to try to negotiate in their behalf, not necessarily in my own best interest, but in their behalf. And so they trusted that whole process, and they trusted us as leaders because we were leading them, right? And so when it fell apart, they were actually excited because nothing really was going to change. But they gained more trust throughout that whole process because they saw that we were genuine. They saw that we were true to our values, and what mattered to us was them. And so it's just, it's something we had built beforehand. I knew about it, but I saw the true power of culture in a business through an acquisition that failed.
Yeah.
But it taught me so much about, the importance of that. And that's the greatest thing about Heritage and about some of these other businesses that I'm a part of is the culture that we've been able to build, which has attracted the right type of people that fit that culture. And when you attract like-minded people, you enjoy work, right? Like business is my playground. Like I enjoy coming to work because I enjoy the people that I work with. And every day they make me want to be better. And if I'm a better person at work, I'm going to be a better father. If I'm a better father, I'm going to be a better husband. And so all of it is just, continually trying to become the best version of me. And this is, an Ed Milet thing, right? Become the best version of me. If I look back a year from now and I haven't changed, then what I've wasted that last year, So anyway, I'm kind of getting off on other tangents, but position thing for the best didn't work out. A lot of times when we go through hard things, I put so much time and effort into that. So I was disappointed. But now we're 4 or 5 months removed from that situation, and I see it as a blessing. We're closer together as a company. We're not talking about selling anymore, which is exciting for me. I love running the company. I love working with the people. And so we've got, big things ahead of us now that we can focus on.
That's amazing, man. And, in this podcast, we've talked about all the time, the importance and power of core values and having that as part of your culture in your business, because without that culture, without those core values that you shared collectively in a group, within the company, after that announcement was made, number one, if the announcement was made, you'd probably lose quite a few of them right away, because they'd be like, well, I got to find, better roads ahead, no loyalty here. And then after it was, nope, not happening, you'd probably lose a few more. But because you had the core values, because there's transparency, because there's love, there's that camaraderie that allows these people to stick together, And I preach that all the time. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in. I'm in a janitorial business. If you don't have that there, and you don't have that in the medical business, that you're in, you don't have a company that's going to really stand the test of time.
Yeah, and we lost zero people throughout that whole thing.
That's amazing. And if you truly, as a business owner, really, want that freedom and that ability to be able to, step away from your business at times, to go on vacation and to enjoy your life a little bit beyond, slaving away at your business, you have to create that culture within your business so it can run without you being there. Without that, it's just you.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah, and that's something that I learned, what I was saying before, I was a one-man show.
Mhm.
And I was successful, but I was killing myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't trust. I didn't think anyone could do it as good as I could. Right. I mean, I was very, in a way, egotistical because I thought I could always do it better. And what I learned is that I was then caught up in things that were so trivial that weren't growing the business, that I didn't have time for some of those other things. And I didn't give opportunities. I didn't give opportunities to my good people, so I lost them.
Yep.
Right. I mean, there were so many of them that could have done it way better than I could. It was different than maybe I would have done it. But now I've learned to surround myself with people that are different than me, because they bring this perspective that I just don't see. And then you get the whole picture. So anyway, I've definitely matured in business and continuing every day to do so as well.
Yep. You're either working in your business or on your business. And at the stages that we're in at this point, being managers and leaders in our businesses, you better be spending at least 98, 99% of your time working on your business.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you're working in your business, you're only worth what you're paying your teams, what you're paying your teammates. You're not worth what an owner is worth at that point. So, well, I will say this, then this is my Ed Milet moment, and if I could ever get that guy on this podcast, it would be my dream,
I will.
I have tagged him. To get him on here.
I request to be your co-host if you ever get Ed Milet.
Okay, it will happen someday when I get some more. I've got to obviously get thousands more followers, of course, so more downloads. But I was just listening to one of his recent podcasts. Did you listen to the Colin O'Brien one?
Which one was that?
Is the most recent one. He has like 10 Guinness Book of Records.
Yes, I did.
But he made a statement that he said, because he got burnt. He was jumping a rope that was on fire in some third world country, and he didn't jump it right, and he burned his body. He's like from feet all the way up to his his torso, and it got to the point that he got burned so bad the doctor's like, I don't know if you're gonna walk again, bro. And he said it took me getting burned that bad to go out and accomplish and to break those records, because at that point, before he got burned, he had no Guinness Book of Records. He had nothing to his name at that point. But after he got burned and being told, hey, I don't think you're going to walk again, that propelled him to say, I'm going to do it. You watch me. And then now he crossed Antarctica by foot in how many days? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
He climbed Mount Everest. He's climbed how many other things that, that's insane. But it's, I thought that was interesting, because I like that statement. It took him getting burned. You didn't get physically burned, but you got burned in a deal.
Right.
But obviously this isn't the end of your story. You're going to get, you've got awesome things going for you right now in the business. And obviously they're not the only suitor that's going to want to end up buying your businesses later on in life either. So I think you're going to be setting yourself up just fine. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. Let me speak to that a little bit, because I remember that episode. Fantastic. It reminded me of one of my favorite quotes by Winston Churchill. And the quote, I love World War II stuff and learning about the heroes there and the people that just had. When you face that adversity, that's when you find out your true character. That's where you find out how are you really going to respond. You think you're courageous. You think you're honest. You think you're whatever. But when you are faced in the fire, how are you truly going to respond? And his quote was that success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. So success is not final. A lot of people have one success and they think, man, I've arrived, I'm great. And they forget the journey, who you're becoming. That's continuing. You've had one success, big deal. You were the high school quarterback, you were whatever it is. Failure is not fatal. A lot of people think, man, I'm done, like I failed. You talked about some of my accolades and some of the businesses I'm in. We could list equally as many businesses that have failed. And it was rough. It was really rough on me. So close to bankruptcy so many different times, dug myself in the hole. And the only thing I knew how to do was to keep digging, right? It was to keep working. But I was digging, and I was digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And to the point where like I was in despair. I didn't think that I was going to be able to get out of that. And but I kept working, and I kept using my mind, because even though I had failed, I knew what I was capable of. I knew that I was smart, that I could do all these things, and I knew failure was not going to define me. I knew it was not fatal, and so I did have the courage to continue. And I'm not uber successful, and I'm not special either. But work ethic, hard work, trusting people, trying to find a way to serve them will come back and benefit you 10 times over. And so if you just keep pushing that flywheel, Jim Collins, the flywheel concept, you just keep pushing it, and you're consistent, and you're doing the things that will lead to success, eventually it'll happen. Anyways, it just reminded me of that guy that, what was his name again? O'Brien.
O'Brien.
When I was listening to him, I was thinking of myself. I was thinking, man, I've been there. I've had all those failures, but would I go back and change them? No, because who I am today was because I found out who I was during those darkest times. I found out that I had the resolve, that I wasn't going to quit. And now that fuels me, even with success. I'm not going to quit. I'm not stopping there, because I have so much more that I want to accomplish in life.
Dude, Johnny, it's funny. You and I have never really talked much, because from talking to you today, I've just realized how similar you and I are. Because number one, just what you just got done saying is I literally just had the same conversation with my wife. Just about my failures in the past and how I wouldn't change anything. How about being broke, and how it's turned us into who we are today as a couple, and as as business professionals, and even down to one of your favorite people to quote, Winston Churchill. One of my favorite quotes. I gotta share you my favorite Winston Churchill quote while we're on the podcast real quick here. This is obviously Winston Churchill, but it says, "To each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour." And that continues. And I've heard your quote before from him, and those two really continue to sink in my mind, that continue to push me forward, thinking, continue to prepare, continue to get better, to have that moment, so you're not not ready, so you're not ready for that time that you're figuratively tapped. So
yeah, and I've heard this elsewhere, but I believe I heard it from Ed Milet as well, where luck is where opportunity meets preparation. So when you get those opportunities, like people think, oh man, so lucky. No, he was prepared. He was prepared, and he was ready, so that when that opportunity came knocking, he took advantage of it. And so that's what that quote reminds me of, is like, sometimes we can't control those failures. Sometimes we can't control when those opportunities are going to come, but they'll come. They'll come at some point. And so your job is to just maintain your resolve, to stay prepared, to continually be learning, continually be trying to serve other people. And through that service, those opportunities will come. But then what are you going to do when they come? Are you prepared for that? Are you going to take it and turn that into what we call luck? So anyway, I love that. I've heard that quote as well. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Great, man. Well, I love it, man. I hope you can get you on the podcast again here in the future, because this was an amazing episode. And I'm sure our listeners are going to get a ton out of it. I know I did. So thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for reaching out. Let me just say to you, I respect you. I watch you from a distance. Like you said, we haven't really spoken. You're doing awesome things. Keep at it. This podcast is a great thing. I've always, wanted to do something like this. So kudos to you for actually going out and doing it, and for blessing our community. I love Pocatello. I've had the opportunity to move elsewhere for jobs, and I just can't do it. I can't do it. And, I keep thinking, man, maybe I could make more elsewhere, but it's not only about that. And I've been able to carve out a niche here that's beautiful. So it's all about continuing to grow Southeast Idaho. There's so many opportunities right here in our backyard. So I love when I see fellow business owners, entrepreneurs, giving back to the community, blessing the business community like you are right now, helping us with our mentality. So important. So blessings to you. Good luck in the future. Let's have our paths cross again.
Appreciate it. And to everyone listening, go out there, dominate your week, dominate your day, stay away from those negative Nancy's that just want to bring you misery and pain. There are people out there that literally, just relish in you being miserable. So, try not to even, people love to hear your sob stories because they love to, get off on them, or they just don't care about it. So remember that there's people out there like that. So just don't give them any heed, and to go out there and just know that you are the person that you need to be, and to become the person you should be. So next episode is coming out next week, and until then, we'll see you all next week.
Congratulations on spending a couple of minutes getting a little bit smarter, having some fun, and supporting the Idaho business community. If you're feeling the love, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are.